Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of AppSec 101. My name is Andrew Garrett, and I work in product marketing here at Fortify. Thank you for joining us here on Fortify Unplugged. And I'm pleased to be joined today by Brenton Witonski. And Brenton is a security professional with more than 20 years of experience in the areas of application security and security assurance. And Brenton's experience has ranged from application development and source code security to implementing security tools to building and maturing security programs at the enterprise level. Brenton holds both the CISSP and CISM certifications and is a strong advocate for always doing what is right for the business and security. So Brenton, it's always a pleasure to have you join us here. And anything else you'd like to add to your background?
Not necessarily, Andrew. I thought that covered it pretty well. Thanks.
Awesome. And remind our viewers where you're based out of.
So I'm based out of the mountains of Wyoming.
It's awesome. All right, Brenton. Well, to get things started, let's talk a little bit about the software development lifecycle, and specifically what makes a secure software development lifecycle, and what does that really mean?
Well, so software development lifecycle really consists of a series of phases or steps to software development, right? And those steps typically have labels like planning, design, development, testing, deployment, or some flavor of those. Well, to make it secure means really integrating security into those phases and steps of the software development lifecycle, right? It's creating a culture and a mindset of security that incorporates all the stakeholders of software development and delivery, right? To make it effective, it's not just security individuals or, certain organizations. It's really realized by a security mindset that all teams have working together to achieve a desired level of security for their software. Requires all kinds of collaboration, implementation of tools, capability processes, those things. But again, going back to that secure SDLC, really to me is just having that mindset of integrating security throughout all the phases of the software development lifecycle.
Yeah, that's great. And when you talk about integrating security throughout the software development lifecycle, it kind of makes me think of the phrase, shift left, or sometimes you hear shift everywhere, right? So it's really this idea of making security a part of the development process rather than kind of tacking it on at the end, right?
Absolutely, and really, and you'll even start hearing more about start left, right? So it's not just integrating it into your existing, development parts, but even before the development phases occur, when you're in the design phase, when you're in the planning phase, right? Making the software development lifecycle secure is really looking at security in all of those facets and all of those stages, right? So if I were to think about what makes it secure, if I kind of walk through that, I would say in the beginning when you're planning, you're working on what does software security mean to you, right? What does it mean to develop a secure piece of software, and what does that look like, right? Making room for security in the project plan, in the dates, in the the whole initiative, making sure that security is built into that. And like I said, gaining that buy-in in the beginning and the commitment from all those who are going to be a part of the software development life cycle, that everyone agrees, yes, we want to be secure. There's nothing worse than getting halfway through the SDLC and realizing that half your team does not care about security or is not important. Security is not important to them, right? So getting that buy-in in the beginning, and then moving into the design phase securely, right? So making sure that there's time to do actual secure architecture design, right? Designing your product in a way where security is important. Threat modeling, software supply chain requirements, and directives of what you want to try to accomplish there. All of those things are really best inside of the design phase when you're thinking about what you're going to accomplish. right? Where do you get your third-party components? What type of testing is going to be involved? What's the development methodology that you want to use? What's your secure source control? I could go on and on about all the things that you can set up in design before development even begins that will set you up for success to have a secure software development lifecycle. I can continue on, development phase, looking at, what does iterative regular testing look like from the beginning, right? So not waiting until you're at the end of your development phase, making sure that you're doing static analysis and software composition analysis, and that those things are built into your development processes, right? When are you going to do dynamic testing, right? Once the application is running, what does that look like to where you would then begin using dynamic application security testing, right? And what are the gates, right? Do you have requirements that you're trying to meet? Are you integrating that security and those requirements and the tools or processes, whatever you have, are you integrating those into the CI/CD pipeline, right? Are you automating the ability for results of those things to be presented to developers in a way that they can use them, right? All those things would occur throughout that development phase. And then in testing, right? When do you start pen testing, from more of a dynamic scope? When do you start including your environments? All of these things really come into play. And like I said, it's throughout all phases of the software development lifecycle that you need to be thinking about security to really have a true secure software development lifecycle.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we'll start seeing this acronym more and more, SSDLC, which is the Secure Software Development Lifecycle, because ultimately that's the goal. And I'm glad you touched on the development side of things, and let's dive into that just a little bit more. But what role do you see developers playing in actually making a secure SDLC?
Really, Andrew, developers to me are the soldiers in the trenches when it comes to secure software development lifecycle, right? It is extremely difficult, if not impossible, to produce secure software and have a secure software development lifecycle without strong developers who are ensuring that what they are developing are meeting the goals and the objectives of that secure lifecycle, right? Again, you need to have it clear in the beginning, what's our goal? And then you need to have everyone that buy into that and agree that, yes, that is our goal, right? I think developers are so critical to the success of developing secure software. They need to be aware and educated on secure development practices. If there are tools provided to them by their organization, they need to know how to utilize those tools, right? They need to be able to understand how to grow in their security learning as they go. If they identify things, if they learn new things in whatever training they're doing or whatnot, how to implement those things in their development practices, right? I mean, they are absolutely essential. I always kind of stealing another analogy, but they're the tip of the application security spear, right? The decisions that they make day to day determine how secure that application ultimately is going to be. I think about in network security where you can deploy the best security technologies and capabilities that are available to you. All of that can be bypassed from a single end user clicking a link in a malicious email, right? You can have the best security tools, the most secure environments, requirements, and opportunities there. But if a developer is determined to use an insecure third-party library, all of your application security can be compromised, right? If they do not commit to putting their code in a secure location, all of your security can be compromised. And so I really think that when it comes down to, what role developers play, I think they are the critical role and one of the most important assets in having secure development of software.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, Brenton. And I think you really hit the nail on the head. I mean, the developers ultimately are the ones that are making the decisions of what code libraries to access, and the how are we going to build this application? Are we do we know where we're actually sourcing this code from, right? And so the developers, like you said, you can have the right policies in place, but ultimately, if the developers haven't been trained on security best practices, it's not going to do a whole lot of good. So making
Absolutely.
sure developers are trained, educated on what they need to do, and also making sure that they have that good cooperative relationship with the security team so that they do have this good collaborative environment as well.
Absolutely.
That's great. Well, let's dive into our next question here. So, for organizations that do have a secure SDLC in place, what are some of the risks that can actually be mitigated before they become these big, vulnerabilities?
Wow, so there are so many risks that can be mitigated by having secure, software development. For one, you're going to have secure applications and products that reduce the risk to your product, reduce the risk to your company, reduce the risks to your customers and your end users. But directly when I think of the risks that are mitigated, some of the big ones are, financial loss. Whether it's because of downtime or compromise or regulatory fines because of those downtimes or compromises. I mean, fines today can easily reach in the 7, 8, or even 9 figures, depending on the situation and the scope of the breach or what data is lost. So, there's a huge financial benefit and really financial risk avoidance for companies to have a secure SDLC. And then, loss of critical data and assets. Even if you're not, in a situation where you're fined for something, you have a vulnerability exposing your sensitive data or your customer's sensitive data. You can lose those assets very easily. You can lose your intellectual property. Just imagine if you're developing this software, you're expecting to make a profit and to sell this software, and you deliver that software out into the production, out into real world. People are using it, and there's a pesky little third-party component that legally requires your private commercial application to now be open source. You just lost your sensitive IP. You lost your ability to make a profit because one little library in your application made your entire product open source. And so making sure that you have the protections in place to ensure that you're not exposed to that risk is huge. And I will say, even if you do end up facing compromise, which most of us will, let's be honest, there's so much compromise out there. There's so many things happening in this security space right now. If you have a well-designed, well-documented, and well-implemented secure software development lifecycle, that demonstrates your due diligence and actually reduces your legal liability substantially. Proving that you're not negligent in those situations can make a massive difference in the fines and the consequences that you're faced with if you actually do have a compromise. And so there are just so many risks that can be mitigated just by having it well-designed, well-documented, and implemented.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, uh, a quality, mature application security program comes at a cost, but so does a data breach. And as you mentioned, a data breach can reach into the 7, 8, even sometimes 9 figures, which is mind blowing. So, a little bit of prevention goes a long way. And
Absolutely.
there's no sense in, skimping on your security tools or, trying to find the most, budget friendly options. If you have a mature, fortified application security program in place, you're going to avoid potentially much larger costs down the road, financially and also from a reputation standpoint as well.
Absolutely.
There's plenty of organizations that you see their company name in the headlines as the latest data breach, and over time, some of them do manage to recover financially, but that hit on the reputation sometimes can last for years beyond the financial implications. So, something else to think about as well. Well, Brenton, let's talk about some of the resources that are out there now. Um, when businesses are really looking to secure their SDLCs, what are some of the tools that you would recommend?
So, I mean, Andrew, there are a myriad of resources available to companies that range in all kinds of varying of costs. And, something we said before about the cost, they cost very little compared to the average cost of a breach, right? So, you talk about the ounce of prevention. These are so important to have good tools, good applications in place that protect you, right? And like I said, there are so many available to you at a range of cost, and those really exist at every stage of the SDLC. Like I said, when you look at planning and design, there are multiple threat modeling products that can help you with that plan, can help you with that design. OWASP is a wonderful free resource that you have available to you that can give you guidance, that can help you go where to start, what to do, what does application security guidelines, what do they look like, right? What is a maturity model for application security, right? That you can measure how well you're doing in this area. I always think of the OpenSAM and the BSAM, right? The software assurance maturity model and the building security and maturity model. Both of those are excellent at being able to measure your program. And the OpenSAM is free, right? You don't have to pay for that. So those are some great resources available. When it comes to the development and the testing, equally, there are so many tools and products out there, ranging from free open source tools to commercial tools for everything you need to ensure you're developing and releasing secure software. And I would say, what you need, a lot of people ask that, well, how much do I need to pay for versus how much do I need to use free? It really depends on your business and what's your risk. Right? If you're a small startup and you're kicking off things and you're learning as you go, you might be able to get away with using open source, using free technologies and capabilities. But if you are established, well-known enterprise, that's probably not going to look so good as far as you doing due diligence to protect your software if you're a very large company and you're not using some of these very effective, very capable commercial tools out there that literally just make it so easy to build in security to your lifecycle, right? And so I would say when you're looking at like static analysis tools, there are several of them on the market. There's some really good free ones out there like Bandit for Python and things. There's commercial tools like Coverity, Veracode, Fortify that are just really strong in being able to provide that comprehensive capability. I'll definitely put in a plug there. I think Fortify is one of the strongest, has the most comprehensive capabilities there. But bottom line is you need something doing the static analysis. You need a tool, you need a product helping you along with that. It's not something you can just do with code reviews or a strong developer looking over it, a couple times. Dynamic analysis, again, multiple tools out there for dynamic. You've got the Burp suites out there, the Acunetics is out there. Again, Fortify comes in, part of that comprehensive suite. You need dynamic analysis tools to allow you to build that security into that phase of the development lifecycle. Software composition analysis tools, right? You've got Sneak out there, Black Duck, Debricked, Sonatype. You've got a lot of these very strong, very capable software composition analysis tools that take all of that work out of figuring out what third-party libraries are using and what's exposing your risk, right? So there's all these things out there, and really, the most I can say is organizations today really have no excuse when it comes to driving secure solutions of not having secure software development lifecycle. It's so easy today with the tools that are available to organizations.
Yeah, well said. And I like that. There's really no excuse, like you said. There's a plethora of tools available, and really, it's just a matter of going out there. And I mean, there's free trials if you're new to application security tools. I know Fortify we have free trials available on our website if you want to take Fortify on demand for a spin, or Web Inspect, which is our dynamic application testing tool. So there's plenty of options out there, and I think if we could end on this, Brenton, maybe we get your advice or maybe some tips to really developers as well as security teams, if we could touch on both of those. But what would be maybe your advice on best practices to developers and then security teams as well?
Okay, I'll start with developers and thinking about, what are the things they can do. The best advice I can give, I think, is to utilize the resources, tools, and capabilities at your disposal, right? If you have a security group in your organization, partner with them. Make sure that they're providing you the tools you need to be successful. But once they provide a tool, use it, right? If it's disruptive to your work, talk to that security team. Talk about and work together with them on designing a solution or a way to use that tool that's least disruptive, right? I would also say get familiar with OWASP. OWASP resources are free and they're abundant and they're powerful. There are so many good resources available on OWASP that you can just go read white papers. You can look at their, all the different studies and different things that they do. They talk all kind of the resources that are free available to developers. Really get involved and get familiar with those. That's some of the best things you can do. The other thing that I would say is become a champion of security in your team, in your group, in your organization, right? Your company needs leaders. They are looking for leaders in your area, especially like I'm saying, technical leaders who can speak security and can advocate for security best practices in software development from where you sit in the organization, right? I've seen it time and time again how when you step out as the security-minded developer, you suddenly become an extremely valuable and marketable asset to any organization, right? And I'll even say go this far. If you're security-minded and your organization does not have a security team, start one. Become the voice of security in your organization. And I assure you, I have seen it. You will quickly become the most valuable individual in that organization, and you will probably be managing a new security team within a year. Moving on to, I would say, security teams. Advice I would give is work with and partner with your developers, with your development teams. They are your most critical resources in this fight to secure software, and it is a fight. It is a battle. You are constantly facing the aggressor that wants to compromise your applications, that wants to steal your data, that wants to ransomware you, and you cannot do this without them. You need the developers. So find those developers who understand the importance of security and build into them as security champions. They will become your greatest advocates and your greatest allies in this battle. When we talk about the tooling and thing, I would say do your research on the right tools and the resources for your organization. Make sure that you're not only finding the best software, but you find the best software that fits your business. There are many choices out there. You need the right choice and the right product that fits your business. I cannot stress that enough. And then the last thing I would really advise for security team is measure your risk. Measure your risk and measure your risk, right? We measure what we care about. You have to be able to show where you are, and you have to be able to define where you want to be. So do not overlook the importance of designing your application security program to fit your business, to fit your processes. Figure out the right metrics and the right measures that you're going to use to determine success. Look at those established maturity models like OpenSAM. Look at the things from OWASP. Don't build this up from scratch. There's no reason to recreate the wheel. Think of the metrics that focus and measure the risk to your business, right? Because I guarantee you, if you can adequately measure the risk to your business and develop a program that demonstrates how to actively reduce that risk, you will not lose.
Yeah, thanks, Brenton. I think that's a great point. No need to reinvent the wheel. There's tools, there are models out there that you can leverage, and the first step is just researching what's out there, getting started. And I also like how you said, sometimes it's just a matter of being that voice, speaking up and becoming that security champion on your team, so that you can be someone that is looked to as a leader and someone who is valuable and marketable, like you said. So, well, thanks again, Brenton, for your time today. As we wrap up, any final thoughts that you would like to share?
Yeah, I get, one thing that did pop into my head, one more kind of advising, I guess, is don't be afraid to reach out to these security companies. People like Micro Focus and Fortify and things like that. They are there to help you, and they are successful when you are successful. So don't be afraid to call them up and start asking them questions and start investigating these tools and these capabilities and finding out what they can do for you so that you're not, again, trying to recreate things on your own. Right? All of these companies out there, yes, they're for profit. They're trying to sell you something, but if you're successful, then they're successful. And so they're going to be focused on that. And I would say equally, if you're talking to a security company that's not focused on your success, move on, find another one, because your success ultimately is what matters.
That's great. That's a perfect spot to end our discussion today, Brenton. Thank you so much for taking some time and explaining really what is a secure SDLC and how to achieve one. So I appreciate your time. And to our viewers that are watching this episode, I would like to invite you to please subscribe to our channel. Please like this video, and don't forget to leave a comment down below if you have any questions for Brenton. He would be happy to answer those as well. Absolutely. So thanks, everyone. We'll see you next time on another episode of AppSec 101. Thanks.